My husband kept waking me up screaming about emergencies that didn't exist. I gave him a real reason to panic. I work as an emergency room nurse doing 3 12-hour night shifts a week, which means I need to sleep during the day to function and not accidentally kill someone at work. When I married Paul 5 years ago, he understood this completely and even installed blackout curtains and a white noise machine in our bedroom to help me rest. He'd work his regular office job while I slept, and we'd have our evenings together before I left for my shifts. It was a perfect system that worked for 4 solid years without any issues. Paul would leave for work quietly, come home for lunch quietly, and even started using headphones for his video games in the living room. Then Paul started watching true crime documentaries, and everything went to hell. It started with him waking me up one Tuesday by shaking me violently, screaming that there was someone in the house. I jumped up ready to fight, thinking we were being robbed, only to find out he'd heard a noise from the water heater turning on. He apologized and said the documentary about home invasions had made him paranoid. I let it go because everyone gets spooked sometimes. The next week, he burst into the bedroom at noon yelling about smoke and fire. I ran out in my underwear expecting flames, but it was steam from the dishwasher. Paul sheepishly said it looked like smoke from the hallway, and he'd panicked remembering a documentary about house fires. I explained that I needed sleep to properly dose medications and start IVs, but he promised it wouldn't happen again. 2 days later, he woke me up crying that our neighbor had been murdered because he saw police cars outside. It was a traffic stop. He'd watched a documentary about serial killers in suburban neighborhoods the night before. This pattern continued for 2 months. He'd wake me up convinced there was a gas leak when the stove was just dirty. He'd shake me awake sure I was dead because I was sleeping too quietly after watching something about sudden death syndrome. Once he actually called 911 because he thought I was having a seizure when I was just twitching in my sleep like every normal human does. The paramedics who showed up were my coworkers and they were not amused. I tried everything to make him stop. I suggested he stop watching true crime, but he said it was educational. I asked him to check things himself before waking me, but he said his first instinct was to get me to safety. I even bought him anxiety medication, but he refused to take it, saying he wasn't anxious, just cautious. My sleep deprivation got so bad that my supervisor noticed me making mistakes and put me on probation. The final straw was when Paul woke me up at 2 p.m. on a Thursday, absolutely hysterical that I'd been drugged because my coffee mug was still on the nightstand from the morning. He was convinced someone had broken in and poisoned me because he'd just watched something about poisoning spouses. I hadn't even drunk the coffee because I'd been too tired from his previous wake-ups. While he was calling poison control, I sat there realizing I was going to lose my nursing license if this continued. That's when I decided Paul needed to experience exactly what he was putting me through. I started my campaign the next Monday. I signed Paul up for every true crime newsletter, podcast, and YouTube channel I could find. His feeds became nothing but murder, disaster, and tragedy. Then I started leaving little things around to trigger his paranoia. I'd move his coffee mug slightly while he slept. I'd leave windows cracked that I knew would creak in the wind. I'd set timers on devices to beep randomly during the night. Paul started losing sleep trying to investigate every sound, but I wasn't done. I took a week of vacation time and adjusted my sleep schedule to be awake during the night. Then I started my own documentary watching routine at full volume while Paul tried to sleep. Every time he'd drift off, I'd gasp loudly at something on screen. When he'd ask what was wrong, I'd tell him about horrible things that happened to people who ignored warning signs. Did he know most people who die in their sleep show symptoms Paul had been having, like tiredness and irritability? By day 3, Paul was begging me to use headphones, but I said I couldn't hear important details with headphones, and this was educational content. Then came the wake-ups. I'd shake Paul awake at 3 a.m. because I heard something outside that sounded like someone casing houses. I'd wake him at 5 because the refrigerator made a noise that could indicate an electrical fire. I once woke him up 4 times in one night because I kept thinking I smelled gas that turned out to be his protein powder. The best part was when I called his boss during an important meeting because I was worried Paul might have forgotten to lock the door and someone could be robbing us. His boss was furious about the interruption, and Paul had to explain his wife was having anxiety issues. I innocently told Paul later that I was just being cautious like he taught me. Within 2 weeks, Paul was a zombie. Full story on channel, link below.